The plan to build the venues and facilities for the London Olympics in 2012 is the most ambitious project of public works undertaken by Britain in modern times. Over £5 billion has been budgeted for construction. But this programme has uncovered disturbing evidence that one of the sites chosen for part of the development is contaminated by industrial toxins and even radiation. Girish Juneja reports.
It's called the clean-up. Herculean preparations for the Olympics ahead of those 8 weeks in 2012 when heroic sporting adventure will take place in world-class infrastructure. But the concerns of those that still live here, right on the Olympic site, are more immediate.
We're concerned about the fact that there could be a lot of contaminated material in this site. And as it stands at the moment, you can see work going on. Of course, they are producing dust already, and eventually they will produce a lot more dust. And you can't control this dust.
When the International Olympic Committee inspectors visited here last week, they paid glowing tribute to the London operation. Their itinerary didn't take in the Clays Lane housing estate where Julian Chain and others await relocation. Nor did the inspectors visit the travellers next door. They've been here for 3 generations, and now their caravans lie next to mounds of freshly dug earth. They say the dust got really bad in the spring.
When it was really hot, which it was then, it was like you could see the dust and dirt going like clouds going by you, and everyone's had sore throats, sore eyes, lip infections. We've been to the doctors and that we've had to have antibiotics for our lips, like cream to put on our lips to get rid of it, and like everyone's come out in spots.
With no apparent controls, the machinery throws up dust on a daily basis. And although there is no evidence that the dust is contaminated, there is growing alarm that the building work could disturb known radioactive material. The Olympic Park will be built on 500 acres of East London brownfield. A substantial part of it is the old West Ham landfill, an industrial dump which closed in the mid-1970s. In documents broadcast for the first time, we can reveal at least 2 occasions when radioactive waste was dumped right here. Radioactive material was deposited on the site in 1959. It is known to be an isotope of thorium, but just how radioactive it is has not been established. A few years earlier, in 1953, 40-gallon drums of radioactive material from a chemical factory was recorded. The exact location and nature of the waste is unknown. The businesses around the old West Ham landfill are on their way out, so the Olympic clean-up can continue. But after more than a century of production, these industries now leave their own legacy. This part of London was no bit player in the Industrial Revolution. By 1900, it was known as the factory centre of the south of England, and by 1910, its major concern was the use and manufacture of all sorts of chemicals. These phone books from 1954 vividly show how important chemical manufacturing remained in the post-war era. We know some radioactive waste was dumped here in the 1950s, but regulations were only introduced in 1964, leading one of Britain's leading nuclear consultants to argue there could be much more waste than the records show.
Of course, the real problem is this, is once you've found a dump site, it gets around the circuit, and Joe down at the luminising works might say to Fred at the gas mantle works, "Hey, where are you dumping your radioactive waste?" "Oh, found this place at West Ham." "Good, I'll get some down there as well." So what you typically find in pre-1960 dumps is a small portion of recorded waste and then a whole host of unrecorded waste. And that's the concern here. What has been dumped that has not been recorded?
Builders on the Olympic Park site preparing the ground for deep drilling. What are you drilling for? To test the sample soil. Eventually the soil from deep in the ground is extracted and tested. So far none has shown signs of radiation. None of the workers on site appear to wear any clothing that might protect them from possible contamination, leading some residents to feel that the authorities haven't taken their concerns about contamination and radiation seriously. But the Olympic Delivery Authority, whom all contractors report to, refute this, saying there will be no invasive work on areas thought to be contaminated until all residents have been relocated. In a statement, they told us,
Site investigations and groundwater sampling have not detected radioactive material. Safety is our top priority, and we're working closely with residents to address any concerns they may have. We've been using electronic equipment to determine in more detail the makeup of the soil. All staff working in this area have the correct level of personal protective equipment for any risk associated with their work.
Nestled on the edge of the Olympic site are the residential districts of Leighton and Stratford. There's a muted anticipation ahead of the Games, but should the contractors for the Olympic Delivery Authority discover any trace of radioactive contamination in any of its future tests, that support is sure to be short-lived. Greece Janeja, More 4 News, East London.